Hello, welcome to my channel Nightlight Science Stories. Today, we embark on a forbidden journey to the edges of the known world, where the ice sheets of Antarctica and the impenetrable canopy of the Amazon rainforest guard secrets that could rewrite human history. We are not looking for simple ruins or pottery shards. We are hunting for entire civilizations that vanished overnight, leaving behind only whispers in the geological record and anomalies that modern science struggles to explain. As we peel back the layers of time, we must ask ourselves a terrifying question. Is it possible that we are not the first advanced society to walk this earth? The evidence is mounting, hidden beneath miles of glacial ice and swallowed by the relentless green ocean of the jungle. From LiDAR scans revealing massive grid cities in the Amazon to thermal anomalies under the Antarctic ice shelf, the clues are beginning to glow in the dark, waiting for us to piece them together. For centuries, the Amazon was thought to be a pristine wilderness, untouched by complex civilization. Historians believed the soil was too poor to support large populations. But recent technology has shattered this illusion. Using LiDAR, a laser imaging technology that strips away the vegetation digitally, archaeologists have discovered vast networks of settlements, causeways, and pyramids that rival the greatness of the Mayan Empire. This was not a scattered tribe. This was a metropolis. Imagine a civilization of millions, thriving in harmony with the forest, engineering the land with a sophistication that we are only beginning to understand. They created Terra Preta, a man-made supersoil that is still fertile thousands of years later, glowing with a biological richness that defies natural formation. While Europe was in the Dark Ages, the Amazon was ablaze with the light of a complex society, connected by roads that shine like veins across the continent in our modern scans. The scale of these discoveries is mind-bending. In the Bolivian Amazon alone, researchers have mapped sprawling urban centers with 22-meter-tall earthen pyramids encircled by miles of canals and reservoirs. These were not primitive structures. They required advanced knowledge of hydraulics, astronomy, and mathematics. The layout of these cities aligns perfectly with the constellations, suggesting a culture deeply connected to the cosmos, mirroring the stars in their architecture. But where did they go? The silence of the rainforest is heavy with the mystery of their disappearance. Did a cataclysmic event wipe them out? Or did they succumb to a silent, invisible enemy like disease introduced from across the ocean? The jungle creates and destroys with equal speed. Organic materials rot away, leaving only the earthworks as ghostly footprints. We are walking through a graveyard of empires, where every step might be on top of a buried throne room or a forgotten temple. Now let us turn our gaze south to the frozen wasteland of Antarctica. Before it was a kingdom of ice, this continent was a lush, temperate paradise. Fossils of ferns and ancient forests have been found there, proving that life once flourished at the bottom of the world. But the most intriguing mystery lies in the maps. The Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513, depicts the coastline of Antarctica with startling accuracy, centuries before modern exploration supposedly discovered the continent. How could ancient cartographers know the shape of a landmass that has been buried under ice for millions of years? Some theorists propose that a civilization existed there during a period when the ice had retreated, a time lost to our conventional history books. They suggest that the shifting of the Earth's crust, a process known as crustal displacement, might have rapidly moved Antarctica into the polar zone, flash freezing an entire epoch of life in a single catastrophic moment. Modern science brings a new layer of intrigue to this frozen riddle. Satellites monitoring the continent have detected massive gravity anomalies and heat sources beneath the ice. The Wilkes Land Gravity Anomaly, a massive concentration of mass hidden under a crater, hints at a colossal impact event or something massive buried deep below. Is it a meteor that ended a civilization? Or is it the geological signature of a landmass that holds forbidden secrets? Furthermore, neutrinos, ghostly particles from space, are being detected shooting up from the Antarctic ice, defying the standard model of physics. While scientists search for natural explanations, the imagination wanders to the possibility of ancient technology or unknown energy sources trapped in the cryosphere. The ice acts as a perfect preservative, a time capsule that might one day melt to reveal structures that have been waiting in the dark for 12,000 years. The concept of a mother culture, a progenitor civilization from which all others, like Egypt and Sumer, inherited their knowledge, often points to these lost lands. If such a civilization existed, its destruction would have been absolute, scattering survivors who carried fragments of their advanced knowledge to the corners of the globe. This would explain the uncanny similarities in pyramid construction and flood myths found in cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years. We see echoes of this lost knowledge in the precision of megalithic stonework that we cannot replicate today. The connection between the Amazonian earthworks and the global grid of ancient sites suggests a level of planetary awareness that was supposedly impossible for primitive people. Perhaps the history of humanity is not a straight line of progress, but a cycle of rise and fall, with us currently living in the amnesia of a post-apocalyptic world. The rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, swallowed millions of square miles of coastal land. This was the real Atlantis event, a global deluge that drowned the coastal cradles of civilization. In the Amazon, the evidence suggests that the rainforest itself might be a funeral garden, an overgrown legacy of these ancient geoengineers. The biodiversity we see today could be the result of their selective breeding and cultivation over millennia. Imagine walking through the Amazon and realizing that every fruit tree and every medicinal plant was placed there intentionally, a living library of biotechnology left by a vanished people. The lost city of Z was not a myth. It was just one node in a continental network. Colonel Percy Fawcett, who vanished hunting for it, may have been closer to the truth than his contemporaries dared to admit. He walked into the green abyss and became part of the mystery he sought to solve. Artifacts found in these regions often challenge the chronological timeline. Out-of-place artifacts, or OOPArts, discovered in coal seams or deep geological layers, suggest human presence millions of years before we supposedly evolved. While many are hoaxes, some in the Amazon and near Antarctica defy easy dismissal. They speak of a metallurgy and craftsmanship that requires high heat and precision tools, technologies that should not have existed in the Stone Age. The silence of mainstream archaeology on these anomalies is often deafening. It is safer to categorize them as anomalies than to rewrite the textbooks. But the sheer volume of evidence is reaching a tipping point. The Amazon is burning, and as the trees fall, the earthworks are revealed, undeniable geometric scars on the planet's surface. We are racing against time to map these ruins before they are destroyed by modern development or reclaimed by the jungle forever. As we look to the future, technology is finally catching up with the legends. Ground-penetrating radar is allowing us to see through the ice of Antarctica without drilling a single hole. We are finding subglacial lakes, rivers, and potentially caverns that could harbor life or ruins. The idea that Antarctica was the legendary Atlantis, positioned differently on the globe before a crustal shift, remains one of the most provocative theories in alternative history. If we were to find a single structure, a single undeniable piece of architecture under the ice, it would shatter our understanding of anthropology. It would mean that a high civilization navigated the globe when Europe was buried under ice. It would mean that the maps of the ancient sea kings were real. The psychological impact of such a discovery would be profound, forcing us to recognize that we are merely the latest tenants of a very old and mysterious house. The cycle of the Earth is long and catastrophic. The geological record shows us that the poles have been tropical before, and the tropics have been deserts. The civilizations of the Amazon and the hypothetical inhabitants of an ice-free Antarctica were likely victims of these great terrestrial mood swings. Their tragedy is our warning. They likely felt as permanent and invincible as we do today, until the sky turned dark and the waters rose to claim their achievements. By studying these lost chapters, we are not just indulging in fantasy. We are learning about the resilience and fragility of human society. The Amazon and Antarctica are the final frontiers of archaeology. They hold the black box of human history. As we continue this series, we will dive deeper into the specific sites, the strange artifacts, and the compelling scientific theories that argue we are a species with amnesia, awakening to the ruins of our own forgotten past. The deforestation of the Amazon, while tragic, has revealed a secret previously hidden by the canopy: massive geometric shapes carved into the earth. Known as geoglyphs, these perfect squares, circles, and octagons span hundreds of meters. They are not random, they are mathematically precise. For decades, we thought the rainforest was a barrier to civilization, but these shapes prove that the landscape was actively engineered by a sophisticated society. These earthworks date back thousands of years, long before European contact. Some researchers believe they served as ritual sites, while others argue they were defensive structures or celestial calendars. What is undeniable is the sheer labor required to build them. Without the wheel or beasts of burden, how did they move millions of tons of earth? It implies a social hierarchy and a collective will that rivals the builders of Stonehenge, hidden for centuries. At the heart of these discoveries is the site known as Kuhikugu, often linked to the legendary lost city of Z. Here, archaeologists found evidence of a grid-like urban plan, complete with wide roads oriented to the cardinal directions. This wasn't a small village. It was a complex network of towns connected by major highways, capable of supporting a population of up to 50,000 people. This finding alone destroys the myth of the primitive Amazonian. The people here did not just live in the forest. They farmed it. They managed fruit trees and crops in a way that suggests large-scale agriculture without the destructive slash-and-burn techniques used today. They lived in a sustainable balance that modern society has yet to achieve. But their greatest invention was not their buildings, but the ground beneath their feet, a technological marvel of soil engineering that still baffles modern agronomists today. This substance is called Terra Preta, or Amazonian dark earth. It is a man-made soil, rich in charcoal, pottery shards, and organic matter, created to turn the infertile yellow clay of the jungle into super arable land. What makes it miraculous is its ability to regenerate itself. It is alive with a unique microbial ecosystem that grows over time. We are looking at thousands of years of biotechnology, a legacy of abundance left in the dirt. Scientists are currently studying Terra Preta to solve modern food crises, yet we cannot perfectly replicate the ancient recipe. The civilization that created this was likely decimated by European diseases before recorded history began, leaving the forest to reclaim their cities. The wilderness we see today is actually a neglected garden, an overgrown cemetery of a people who mastered the alchemy of the earth long before the Industrial Revolution. The orientation of these Amazonian sites suggests a deep spiritual connection to the cosmos. The roads and geoglyphs align with the solstices and specific star clusters. This mirrors the obsession with astronomy found in Egypt, Mexico, and Cambodia. Why did ancient cultures, separated by vast distances, all look to the stars with such intensity? It suggests a shared heritage, a global priority to track the cycles of time, perhaps to predict the next cataclysm. This as above, so below philosophy indicates that they were aware of the precession of the equinoxes, a 26,000-year cycle of the Earth's wobble. Tracking this requires centuries of observation and precise record keeping. The Amazonians were not just farmers, they were timekeepers. They built their civilization as a clock, ticking in sync with the universe, aware that time acts as both a creator and a destroyer of worlds. From the green hell of the Amazon, we return to the white hell of Antarctica. In the Ellsworth Mountains, satellite images have captured a structure that has ignited the internet, a mountain with perfect pyramidal symmetry. While geologists dismiss it as a nunatak, a peak jutting through the ice, the precision of its four sides aligns almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, just like the Great Pyramid of Giza. Is this merely a coincidence of nature? Nature rarely creates perfect geometry. The erosion patterns of wind and ice usually create chaotic, jagged forms. To find a structure this symmetrical in the middle of nowhere invites speculation. Could it be a remnant of a civilization that existed before the ice sheet formed 30 million years ago? Or is it evidence of a much younger freeze, a rapid climate shift that buried a prehistoric culture under kilometers of sudden frost? The mystery of Antarctica is not just geological, it is historical. In 1946, the U.S. Navy launched Operation High Jump, a massive military expedition to the Antarctic led by Admiral Richard Byrd. Officially, it was for training. However, the fleet included an aircraft carrier, submarines, and 4,700 men. Why send a war fleet to an uninhabited block of ice? Rumors have persisted for decades that they were searching for something specific hidden in the interior. Admiral Byrd reportedly stated in a Chilean newspaper that the U.S. needed to prepare for fighters that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. His diaries, often debated, mention lush green lands beyond the ice barriers. While likely exaggerated or misunderstood, the secrecy surrounding High Jump and the subsequent treaties banning private exploration of certain Antarctic zones fuel the theory that the governments know more than they admit. There are places in Antarctica that defy logic, such as the McMurdo Dry Valleys. These are snow-free zones, the driest deserts on Earth, where rain hasn't fallen for 2 million years. The landscape looks more like Mars than Earth. Here, mummified seals are found miles inland, preserved for centuries by the cold, dry air. It is a landscape of death, yet it holds the secrets of life's endurance in extreme conditions. In these valleys, scientists study the Blood Falls, a glacier that bleeds red iron-rich water. It is a visual anomaly that looks like a wound in the ice. This alien environment is our best analog for extraterrestrial worlds. If life or remnants of civilization can exist here, hidden in the underground aquifers or lava tubes warmed by geothermal vents, it would be completely isolated from the rest of the planet's evolutionary timeline. Both the Amazon and Antarctica are tied together by water. The legends of a great flood are universal, found in over 500 cultures worldwide. In the Amazon, the tribes speak of a time when the water rose to cover the trees. In Antarctica, the ice itself is frozen water that, if melted, would trigger a new flood. These two locations are the thermostat of our planet. One breathes moisture into the atmosphere. The other locks it away. Geological evidence supports a massive rise in sea levels around 11,600 years ago. Coincidentally, the exact date Plato gives for the destruction of Atlantis. This was the end of the Younger Dryas period, a time of violent climate fluctuation. It is highly probable that the coastal cities of any advanced civilization existing then were wiped out, forcing survivors to higher ground, perhaps into the depths of the Amazon or away from the freezing poles. One of the most persistent questions in Forbidden's archaeology is the how. How did ancient builders in the Andes, neighbors to the Amazon, cut and fit megalithic stones with such precision that not even a razor blade fits between them? Some theories propose that they used sound frequency or vibration technology to manipulate materia, lost technology that rendered stone weightless. It sounds like science fiction, but the physical evidence remains unexplained. We struggle to replicate their masonry, even with diamond-tipped drills and cranes. If a connection existed between the builders of the Andean megaliths and the lost Amazonian cities, it suggests a sphere of influence that covered the entire continent. Maybe the Amazon rainforest has overgrown the factories or the quarries of this lost age, hiding the tools that would explain the impossible architecture we see in places like Sacsayhuaman and Pumapunku. As we close this chapter on the physical ruins, we must prepare to look at an even more intimate record, the biological one. The DNA of indigenous tribes in the Amazon has revealed ghost populations, genetic markers from ancestors that do not match any known migration patterns. Some show a link to Australasia, thousands of miles away across the Pacific Ocean. How did they get there? The history of human movement is far more complex than we thought. This genetic mystery hints at ancient seafarers who crossed vast oceans long before history admits it was possible. In the next part of our journey, we will dive into these genetic anomalies and the strange skulls found in nearby regions, elongated, distinct, and challenging our very definition of the human species. The stones can be eroded, but the bloodlines carry the truth of our forgotten ancestors forever. The genetic map of the Americas was supposed to be simple, a migration across the Bering Strait from Siberia. However, recent DNA studies on Amazonian tribes, specifically the Sarui and Caratiana people, have thrown a wrench into this theory. They carry a specific genetic marker, population Y, which links them directly to the indigenous people of Australia and Melanesia. This link does not exist in North or Central America. It is a ghost lineage. How did Australasian DNA end up deep in the Amazon rainforest without leaving a trace in the north? This implies a direct transoceanic voyage thousands of years ago, a feat considered impossible for the time. It suggests that the Amazon was a cosmopolitan hub, visited by ancient mariners who possessed advanced navigation skills. The isolation of the Americas is a myth. It was a connected part of a global ancient world that we have forgotten. Just west of the Amazon, on the desert coast of Peru, lies another biological enigma, the Paracas skulls. Discovered by archaeologist Julio C. Tello in 1928, these skulls are not just elongated, they are massive. While head binding was a common practice to deform skulls, it only changes the shape, not the volume. The Paracas skulls are up to 25% larger and 60% heavier than a normal human skull. You cannot increase bone mass by wrapping a head in cloth. Furthermore, the human skull has two parietal plates separated by a sagittal suture. Many of the Paracas skulls have only one single parietal plate and no sagittal suture. This is a congenital feature, not a deformation. They were born this way. This physical anomaly separates them from standard Homo sapiens. Were they a distinct subspecies, a royal lineage bred for intelligence, or something else entirely that ruled over the ancient coastal civilizations? Initial DNA testing on the Paracas skulls has yielded controversial and shocking results. The mitochondrial DNA, which is inherited only from the mother, showed mutations unknown in any human, primate, or animal. These fragments suggest a distant link to populations in the Black Sea and Crimea, thousands of miles away. Once again, we see a connection between the Americas and Eurasia that defies the timeline of history. The web is wider than we thought. If these beings were not local to Peru, where did they come from? Their red hair, preserved in the arid graves, is another anomaly for the region. They were a tall, red-headed, large-brained elite class. Some researchers speculate they were the demigods or watchers, described in ancient texts, survivors of a lost high civilization who sought refuge in the Americas after a global cataclysm, bringing their advanced knowledge of engineering with them. The mystery deepens as we go underground. The legend of the Cueva de los Teos in Ecuador speaks of a vast subterranean network used by these ancient people. It is said to house a metal library containing the history of humanity on gold plates. In 1976, a massive expedition led by Stan Hall, which included astronaut Neil Armstrong, ventured into these caves. They found a burial chamber and undeniable evidence of human habitation deep underground. While the metal library remains elusive or hidden, the geology of the cave is puzzling. Some chambers appear to have laser-cut walls with perfect right angles and smooth surfaces that nature does not create. These natural formations look suspiciously like immense hallways. The locals, the Shuar people, believe the caves are inhabited by spirits. Could these tunnels be the fallout shelters of a prehistoric age, a place to hide from the solar flares or ice ages? Connected to this cave is the story of Father Crespi, a monk who lived in Ecuador and amassed a collection of artifacts brought to him by the natives from these tunnels. His collection included gold plates with unknown hieroglyphs, distinct from any South American culture, looking more Sumerian or Egyptian. Many of these artifacts vanished after his death, lost to arson or theft. Were they evidence of a transatlantic connection that was purposefully erased? The existence of such artifacts suggests that the Amazon and the Andes were repositories of knowledge. If a global civilization collapsed, the survivors would prioritize saving their data, their history, and technology. Etching it onto gold, an imperishable metal, is the most logical way to preserve information for eternity. We might be walking on top of the greatest library ever built, unaware of the wisdom waiting in the dark beneath our feet. The concept of subterranean cities is not unique to South America. In Turkey, we have Derinkuyu, a massive underground city capable of sheltering 20,000 people. If ancient humans in Turkey went underground to survive a catastrophe, why wouldn't the same happen in the Americas? They add people legends of the Hopi Indians in North America, describe how they were taken underground by ant-like beings to survive a global fire and then a global freeze. These myths align frighteningly well with the geological record of the Younger Dryas impact event. The ant people could be a description of the mysterious elites, perhaps those with the elongated skulls who guided the primitive humans into the safety of the earth. The tunnels in Ecuador, Peru, and the Amazon might be part of a planetary defense mechanism, a survival instinct etched into the very crust of the earth. The architecture of these underground spaces and ancient temples often exhibits bizarre acoustic properties. At Chaven de Huántar in Peru, the underground galleries are designed to manipulate sound. When water rushes through the canals, it creates a roar that mimics a jaguar. Specific frequencies resonating in these chambers can alter brain states, inducing hallucinations or trance. This was a technology of consciousness, not just stone. This suggests that the lost technology was not just about lifting rocks, but about manipulating the human mind. They understood the physics of sound and frequency in ways we are only just rediscovering. By combining these acoustics with psychedelic plants like ayahuasca, they created a controlled environment to access higher dimensions of reality. They were psychonauts, exploring the inner universe as deeply as they explored the physical one. Returning to Antarctica, the theme of hidden worlds continues. Beneath the ice sheet lie over 400 subglacial lakes. Lake Vostok, the largest, has been sealed off from the atmosphere for 15 million years. It is a time capsule of evolution. Russian scientists drilled into it and found DNA of bacteria that does not match any known species. This proves that life can thrive in the most hostile, isolated environments on Earth. If microbial life can survive there, could more complex organisms exist in the larger, warmer caverns heated by volcanic activity? The idea of a hollow Earth is scientifically impossible, but the Swiss cheese Earth theory, a planet riddled with massive habitable cavern systems, is geological fact. Antarctica's geothermal vents, create pockets of warmth under the ice that could theoretically sustain an ecosystem or hide a dormant base. The parallels between the Amazonian underground legends and the Antarctic subglacial reality are striking. Both represent the final hiding places on Earth. As the ice melts in Antarctica due to climate change, we are beginning to see outlines of land that haven't seen the sun in eons. Governments are rushing to map these areas, not just for science, but for resources and strategic dominance. The race for the lost continent is silent but intense. We must consider the possibility that the aliens people report seeing in these remote regions are not from space, but from here remnants of a breakaway civilization or an advanced predecessor hiding in the blind spots of our geography. The UFOs seen diving into the oceans and flying out of volcanoes might be vehicles of a terrestrial origin, belonging to a neighbor we refuse to acknowledge. As we reach the halfway point of our journey, the picture becomes clear. Our history is a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. The Amazon is not just a forest, it's a ruin. Antarctica is not just an ice block, it's a vault. The genetic anomalies and impossible artifacts are the keys to unlocking a narrative that empowers humanity rather than diminishing it. We are the descendants of survivors, heirs to a forgotten greatness. In the next part of this documentary, we will dare to look at the most controversial evidence of all, the advanced machinery and impossible engineering tools required to build these sites. We will analyze the stone-cutting precision that defies laser technology and ask the ultimate question: did they have help from the stars, or was humanity once a godlike species itself? Stay with us as the mystery is about to get physical. The conventional narrative tells us that ancient people used ropes, logs, and muscle power to build their monuments. But when we look at the trilithon stones in Baalbek or the megaliths in Peru, we face a mathematical impossibility. Some of these blocks weigh over 1,000 tons. To move a single 1,000-ton stone today, we need specialized hydraulic cranes that take weeks to assemble. The idea that primitive people dragged these up mountains on wooden rollers is physically absurd. Wood crushes under that weight, ropes snap. The sheer manpower required would be too crowded to function on narrow mountain paths. We are missing a fundamental piece of the puzzle. Either they had a technology to neutralize gravity, or they possessed a power source that made weight irrelevant. The legends of stone as floating to the sound of a trumpet might be a folk memory of acoustic levitation, a technology we are only just beginning to experiment with in labs today. Nowhere is this lost technology more evident than at Puma Punku in Bolivia, high in the Andes. Here we find massive blocks of andesite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, cut with the precision of a laser. The famous atules are interchangeable like prefabricated modular furniture. The internal corners are perfect right angles, and the surfaces are smooth as glass. You cannot achieve this with copper chisels and stone hammers. Copper is too soft. It would just bend. To cut andesite this cleanly, you need diamond-tip saws and high-speed drills. Microscopic analysis of the drill holes reveals equidistant grooves, suggesting a tool that penetrated the rock at a consistent, rapid speed. This implies the existence of power tools. If the builders of Puma Punku had power tools, where are the power plants? Where are the cables? Or did they use a form of energy that we have yet to rediscover, transmitted wirelessly through the Earth itself? Another baffling anomaly is found in the polygonal walls of Sacsayhuaman. The stones here are not just cut. They look like they were molded. Some researchers propose that the ancients knew how to soften stone. There are local plants in the Amazon containing chemical compounds that, when mixed correctly, can turn rock into a malleable paste. This would explain the scoop marks seen on some megaliths, which look like a spoon taken out of soft butter. If they could chemically alter the state of matter, softening rock to shape it and then rehardening it, It would revolutionize our understanding of chemistry. It would mean they didn't fight against the hardness of the material. They manipulated its molecular structure. This is alchemy in its truest form, the transmutation of matter for engineering purposes. It is a far more elegant solution than the brute force methods we assume they used. The debate between carved stone versus poured concrete is heating up. Professor Joseph Davidovits proposed the geopolymer theory, suggesting that the stones of the Great Pyramid and other sites were cast in place using a mixture of limestone, clay, and water, a high-tech concrete that is indistinguishable from natural rock after thousands of years. This would solve the transportation problem instantly. You don't move the stone. You move the dust and mix it on site. Under a microscope, some of these samples show air bubbles and organic fibers that should not exist in natural sedimentary rock. If this theory is true, it means the ancients were master chemists. They created a building material that has outlasted our modern concrete, which cracks after a century. They built for eternity, using a science that blended so perfectly with nature that we mistook their artificial creations for geology itself. But not everything can be explained by molding. In Egypt and Peru, we find saw marks that cut through granite and basalt. The feed rate, the distance the saw moves with each rotation seen in these cuts, is startling. Flinders Petrie, the father of Egyptology, calculated that the drills used on the granite sarcophagi must have penetrated the stone 500 times faster than modern diamond drills. The pressure required would be roughly 2 tons on the drill bit. How did they apply 2 tons of pressure to a hand-cranked drill? It is impossible. The evidence points to large, fixed machinery. Just because we haven't found the machines doesn't mean they didn't exist. Steel rusts and disappears in a few thousand years. Stone remains. We are judging a civilization by its skeleton, while the muscle and organs, the tools and the wood have long since rotted away into the soil of the Amazon and the sands of Egypt. This leads us to the purpose of these structures. Were they really just tombs and temples? The Great Pyramid contains no mummy, no hieroglyphs, and is built with the precision of an optical instrument. It contains massive amounts of quartz crystal in its granite chamber. Quartz is piezoelectric. It creates electricity when under pressure. Some engineers argue that these pyramids were actually geomechanical power plants, harvesting the vibrational energy of the Earth. If this global grid of pyramids found in the Amazon, China, Bosnia, and Egypt was a wireless energy network, it parallels Nikola Tesla's dream of the Wardenclyffe Tower. Tesla claimed he could transmit energy through the Earth without wires. Perhaps he was not inventing something new, but rediscovering a principle that was standard physics for the ancients. A free energy grid would explain the lack of soot in deep tombs. They had clean light. The placement of these sites is not random. They sit on ley lines or telluric energy currents of the Earth. It is as if the planet is a circuit board, and the megaliths are the capacitors and resistors. The lost city in the Amazon or the structures under the Antarctic ice would likely be plugged into this same grid. They were manipulating the Earth's electromagnetic field for communication, energy, or perhaps even weather control. This level of planetary engineering requires a Type 1 civilization, status on the Kardashev scale, a society that can harness all the energy available on its planet. We are currently Type 0.7. We are burning dead dinosaurs for fuel while our ancestors might have been, tapping into the heartbeat of the Earth. It is a humbling realization that we might be the primitive ones, scavenging in the ruins of giants. Skeptics ask, if they were so advanced, where are their laptops? Where are their plastic bottles? This assumes that an advanced civilization would follow the same toxic industrial path as us. Maybe they chose organic technology. Maybe their machines were biodegradable. Or maybe time is simply more destructive than we realize. In 10,000 years, almost every trace of our 21st century civilization will be dust. Only Mount Rushmore and the Hoover Dam might survive. If a cataclysm like the Younger Dryas Comet impact occurred, it would have been followed by massive tsunamis and firestorms. Any metal tools would rust away, any libraries would burn. The survivors would be left with nothing but the clothes on their backs and the oral traditions. Within 3 generations, quantum physics becomes a mythology of magic gods. We are looking at a post-apocalyptic restart of the human race. This brings us back to Antarctica. If a faction of this civilization foresaw the cataclysm, they would have built bunkers. The anomalies seen in thermal scans of Antarctica could be these survival arcs. Unlike the Amazon, where the jungle eats everything, the ice preserves. If there is a smoking gun of high technology, a machine, a vehicle, a library, it is waiting in the deep freeze of the southern pole. The secrecy of world governments regarding Antarctica makes sense in this context. Finding a 12,000-year-old advanced machine would destabilize the global economy, religion, and power structure. It is the ultimate prize. The nations of the world are not just studying penguins down there. They are looking for the legacy of the pre-Adamites, the builders who mastered gravity and energy before history began. The evidence of impossible engineering forces us to rewrite the timeline of human innovation. We did not slowly evolve from cavemen to pyramid builders in a straight line. There was a spike, a golden age followed by a dark collapse. The precision of the stone cutting is the fingerprint of a lost master. We are trying to emulate them, but we have lost the instruction manual. In the next segment, we will explore the spiritual and cosmic philosophy of these builders. Why did they go to such lengths? What did they know about the human soul and the afterlife that compelled them to build mountains of stone? We will dive into the Hall of Records and the prophecies that predict the return of this lost knowledge in our time. The stones are speaking. We just need to learn how to listen. Beyond the heavy stones and the strange maps, there lies a metaphysical mystery. Why did these ancient cultures obsess over the preservation of knowledge? The concept of a Hall of Records is a recurring theme in esoteric traditions. It is said to be a hidden library containing the total wisdom of the lost civilization of Atlantis, their history, their physics, and their understanding of the universe. It is the backup drive of humanity. The famous American clairvoyant Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, predicted in the 1930s that 3 such halls existed. One was buried under the sands of Egypt, near the Sphinx, another in the sunken lands of Atlantis, Bimani, and a third in the Yucatan region, the gateway to the Amazon. Cayce believed these records would be discovered in our time, marking the end of the Age of Ignorance and the beginning of a new golden era. The connection between the Amazonian rainforest and the Egyptian desert is stronger than it appears. Geologist Robert Schacht shocked the academic world by proving that the Great Sphinx bears unmistakable signs of water, erosion not from wind and sand, but from centuries of heavy rainfall. The last time Egypt saw such rain was around 10,000 BC, the same time the Amazon was transforming and the Ice Age was ending. This geological evidence pushes the date of the Sphinx back by thousands of years, aligning it with the mysterious ruins in the Amazon and the frozen anomalies of Antarctica. It suggests a global civilization that existed during a wet, tropical epoch before the climate shifted. The Sphinx, gazing eternally eastward, might be the silent guardian of a time when the Sahara was green and the Amazon was a garden city of millions. In Turkey, Göbekli Tepe confirms this timeline. Dated to 9,600 BC, it is 7,000 years older than the pyramids. It appeared suddenly, fully formed, with complex artistic and architectural skills. There's no evidence of a primitive learning curve. This suggests that Göbekli Tepe was not a beginning, but a restart, a project by survivors of the cataclysm to reboot civilization and preserve the memory of the stars and stone pillars. The symbols carved into these pillars are not just decorative. They are astronomical warnings. Researchers believe they depict the position of the stars during the Younger Dryas comet impact. It is a message in a bottle, written in stone, warning future generations about the cyclical nature of cosmic destruction. They wanted to ensure that the knowledge of the sky that falls would never be forgotten again. This brings us to the Yuga cycles of Hindu cosmology, or the Great Year of Plato. The ancients believed that time is not linear, but cyclical. Just as we have day and night, humanity goes through ages of light and darkness. They believed we fell from a golden age of high consciousness into the Iron Age, or Kali Yuga, where we lost our connection to the divine and became obsessed with materialism. We are currently living at the end of this dark age, slowly waking up. The obsession with rediscovering these lost cities is a symptom of this awakening. The ancients built in massive stone because they knew the dark age was coming. They knew that delicate paper and digital data would not survive the fall. They built time-proof structures to serve as alarm clocks for humanity, set to ring right about now. The technology of the Golden Age was likely centered on consciousness. The pineal gland, or the third eye, is depicted in the art of the Sumerians, Egyptians, and even the Vatican, the pine cone staff. They understood that the human brain is a receiver. The acoustic chambers in their temples were designed to stimulate this gland, allowing initiates to access information from the Akashic records, the universal field of information. Today, we try to access information through the internet, an external tool. They likely accessed it internally. This difference explains why we don't find their machines. Their bodies and minds were the machines. The stone circles and pyramids were merely amplifiers for human consciousness. We are looking for hardware in a civilization that ran on wetware, the untapped potential of the human spirit. Following the Great Flood, myths across the globe speak of civilizing heroes who arrived to teach the survivors how to farm, build, and study the stars. In South America, he was Viracocha. In Mexico, Quetzalcoatl. In Egypt, Osiris. These figures are always described as tall, bearded, and possessing strange powers. Were these the survivors of the lost Amazonian or Antarctic civilizations, trying to jumpstart humanity again? They are often depicted carrying a handbag. This symbol is found in Göbekli Tepe, ancient Sumer, and Mexico. What was in the bag? Seeds? Technology? Or was it a symbol of the seeds of knowledge they were planting? These missionaries of the past were likely the bridge between the destroyed world of the Ice Age and the rise of our current history. They were the keepers of the flame during the long, dark winter. The idea of an ark is not just biblical. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault in the Arctic is our modern version of this concept. We are doing exactly what they did, burying our most precious biological assets in the ice to protect them from apocalypse. If we are doing it today, it is logical to assume a scientifically advanced society did the same 12,000 years ago, likely in the stable ice of Antarctica. The recurring rumors of giant bodies in stasis found in caverns may sound like pure fiction, but they align with the concept of biological preservation. If a civilization knew the end was near, they might have tried to sleep through the catastrophe. The Antarctic anomalies might not just be ruins. They might be dormitories, waiting for a wake-up signal that has only recently been triggered by our technology. The global distribution of these megaliths suggests a unified plan. The pyramids of Giza, Teotihuacan in Mexico, and the Xi'an pyramids in China align perfectly with Orion's belt. The builders were not isolated tribes. They were following a global blueprint. This was a one-world civilization, separated by oceans, but connected by a shared philosophy and science. The Amazon was the agricultural engine. Antarctica might have been the command center. This unity was shattered by the cataclysm, leaving us with a fractured world of warring nations. Rediscovering this past is the key to our future unity. Realizing that we are all children of the same lost heritage, survivors of the same storm, could change our geopolitical perspective. We are a species with amnesia, fighting over the scraps of our ancestors' dinner table, unaware of the feast they left for us. The resistance to these theories in mainstream academia is slowly crumbling. The Clovis first dogma, which stated humans arrived in the Americas only 13,000 years ago, is dead. New sites in Brazil and Chile push human presence back to 30,000 years or more. Every year, the timeline gets pushed back. We are getting closer to the truth that history is far older and far stranger than we were taught in school. We are standing on the precipice of a paradigm shift. Just as we once realized the Earth is round and orbits the Sun, we are about to realize that we are not the first apex civilization on this planet. The evidence is no longer just in the myths. It is in the LiDAR scans, the ice cores, and the DNA. The forbidden archaeology is becoming the essential archaeology of the 21st century. As we approach the final chapter of our investigation, we must synthesize everything we have seen. The cities under the Amazon canopy, the pyramids under the Antarctic ice, the genetic ghosts, and the impossible engineering, they all point to one conclusion. We are living in the ruins of a majestic past. The primitive ancients were actually the post-apocalyptic survivors of a greatness we can barely imagine. In the final segment, we will summarize the undeniable proofs and reveal the ultimate map of this lost world. We will also share the Turkish translation summary and the tools you need to explore these mysteries yourself. The journey is almost complete, but the real discovery is just beginning. Prepare for the final revelation. As we pull back to view the Earth as a whole, the isolated mysteries of the Amazon and Antarctica merge into a single cohesive narrative. We see a planet that was once mapped, measured, and inhabited by a global civilization. The Piri Reis map of an ice-free Antarctica is not an error, it is a memory. The grid cities of the Amazon are not anomalies. They are the agricultural heartland of a world that was erased. We are staring at the blueprint of a lost epic. This realization changes everything. It means that the hunter-gatherer timeline taught in schools is at best incomplete. At worst, it is a fabrication designed to make us feel like the pinnacle of evolution. But the stone blocks of Puma Punku and the genetic markers of the Amazon tribes tell a different story. They tell of a time when humanity was connected, advanced, and then suddenly silenced. We are the orphans of that silence. If there is one lesson to take from the ruins of the Amazon and the ice of Antarctica, it is humility. We build our skyscrapers of glass and steel, believing they will last forever. But the Earth is a violent and dynamic host. A single solar flare, a comet impact, or a rapid pole shift could turn our cities into the next mythical ruins for a future species to puzzle over. We are just as fragile as the Atlanteans we dismiss as fantasy. The ancients understood this cycle. They built in megalithic stone not out of vanity, but out of necessity. They were trying to leave a message that would survive the reset. The Hall of Records is not just a library of books. It is the planet itself. The geological scars, the modified DNA, and the impossible architecture are the chapters of a book we are finally learning how to read again. We are living in the age of revelation. Technology, often seen as the enemy of spirituality, is actually becoming its greatest ally. LiDAR is stripping the jungle. Ground-penetrating radar is stripping the ice. Artificial intelligence is decoding ancient languages. The veil is lifting. In the next decade, we will likely find the smoking gun, the definitive proof of a pre-ice age industrial civilization. The question is, are we ready for the answer? Are we ready to accept that we are not the first? That our religious and historical narratives are merely fragments of a much older truth? This discovery will not destroy our identity. It will expand it. It will connect us to a lineage of human resilience and brilliance that spans tens of thousands of years. It invites us to reclaim our heritage, not as a fallen species, but as a species with deep, forgotten roots. So what lies beneath the ice? Likely, the preserved remains of a culture that mastered the balance between technology and nature, a balance we are desperately trying to find today. What lies in the Amazon? The biotechnology of soil and plant manipulation that could save our starving world. The past is not dead. It is a repository of solutions for our future. We simply need the courage to look where we are told not to look. The Forbiddens in Forbidden's archaeology is fading. The curiosity of the human spirit cannot be contained by dogmatic textbooks. Every time you look at a map, remember the empty spaces. Remember the green abyss of the jungle and the white void of the pole. They are not empty. They are full of ghosts, waiting for us to acknowledge them. They are the silent witnesses to the rise and fall of the first men. I want to hear from you. Do you believe Antarctica hides the remnants of Atlantis? Do you think the Amazon was a garden engineered by a lost high civilization? Or is it all just a coincidence of geology? Share your theories in the comments below. The most fascinating discussions often happen right here in our community. Your perspective might be the missing piece of the puzzle we are all trying to solve. If this journey into the unknown has sparked a light in your mind, if it has made you question the history of our world, then my goal is achieved. We are here to explore the stories that science often whispers but rarely shouts. To keep this light burning, make sure you are subscribed and have the notification bell turned on. We are just getting started on this channel, and the mysteries we have yet to cover are even deeper. From the bioluminescent depths of the ocean to the silent pyramids of the Amazon, from the genetic anomalies in our blood to the frozen vaults of the South, we have traveled far today. But remember, the greatest mystery is not out there. It is the potential locked within us. We are the descendants of survivors. We carry the spark of the ancients. Let us use it to build a future that is worthy of our past. Thank you for joining me on this expedition into the shadows of history. This is Nightlight Science Stories, where we shine a light on the hidden corners of our reality. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop wondering what lies beneath the surface. Good night and safe travels in your dreams.